I think there's been some really interesting unknown and unidentified objects in space and around the world. I think there's a lot of questions. Most things can be explained by normal explanations, but some of these things are very strange. There was an object that flew through our solar system a few years ago, and it was going at a very high speed. It accelerated. We didn't see any trail of exhaust or anything like that. There's been some objects that we've seen here on Earth that were really accelerating and moving very fast. And so I think there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered, which is pretty fun. It's exciting to have unknown things and to have to look into them and see what they are. I think the achievements of the UAE have been really spectacular in the last few years. Of course, you flew the first astronaut, the first Arab astronaut, which was very impressive, but I think the Hope probe that went to Mars is really remarkable. It's an Arab designed and made satellite, and it is in orbit around Mars this year. The UAE, America, and China are the only 3 countries that successfully flew to Mars. And so it's really impressive, and it's very important. The scientific community is really going to benefit from the things that we learned from that Mars probe. Well, there are some very practical benefits from space. Things like GPS, imagery, communications, those are very important. There's science experiments that you can do in space. But I think the biggest benefit is the inspiration that it gives, the industry that people will have to go into engineering and science. They'll be able to work on exciting space projects. And so beyond just the benefits that help us today, the practical, technical benefits, I think it's that long-term inspiration and education and employment opportunities that will really make the UAE and the Arab world in general a lot more successful in the future. Well, I think the UAE has done a great job with astronaut selection and training. I have some friends who work here at the Space Agency, and I talked to them a few years ago when they decided that they wanted to do this. And being able to fly to the International Space Station is a great thing. I was very lucky. I got to do it twice. And I know that your astronauts in the future are going to love it. It's an exciting trip. If you want to be an astronaut, my advice to everybody that I talk to, both young and old, is don't tell yourself no. If there's a dream that you have to go for it. You have to make sure that you understand what it is you want to do. You understand what the requirements are. You can't just say you want to be an astronaut. You have to go through the steps to get there. And then you have to take the effort to do it. So that's my advice. Don't tell yourself no.